Welcome, one and all, to Bold Strokes chat room. We are the wild and crazy paranormal writers that you're going to be meeting here today. We're going to be chatting about it. I think I'm going to be on the biggest learning curve with this group because these two are amazing writers who have delved into this world for a long time. I'm a newbie this way. Um, I'll introduce myself. I would ask that we have a question and answer box that you're welcome to put your questions into. And we also have there's a chat. So there's all kinds of ways that we can communicate here today. Um, I'll introduce myself first, and then we'll just go around the circle and learn who everybody is. My name is Clifford Mae Henderson. I'm coming to you from Northern California. I am the writer of I've published 6 novels with Bold Strokes Books. They are, gosh, all of them have won awards. I've won an Independent Press Award, a Forward Magazine Book of the Year Award. I've won Golden Crown Awards. So I'm feeling very blessed in that way that people have responded well to my work. But this is my first paranormal. And so it's new for me. I was telling these women beforehand, I didn't even know it was a paranormal, but it is. And that's super exciting to find out. My other novels were all what I call literary fiction, but in Bold Strokes, you can find them under general fiction. And I think that's all I have to say about me. And because people often ask, you see, my name is Clifford May. Clifford was my grandmother's name. That's how it happened. Yeah. Okay. So it runs in my family as a women's name. So there you go. It's gotten people a little confused in the past. All right. I'm sending over to Crin. What's up, Crin?
Hey, I'm here in London where it's evening and very cold, but not raining, which may surprise some of you. I'm the author of the supernatural detective ghost mystery series, and the vampire novel Scarlet Thirst, all published by Bold Strokes Books, all paranormal. Um, I live in London. I'm production manager for theatre. So that's that's my short bio.
Okay, hi, I'm Sheri Wohl, and I'm coming to you from Northeast Washington State. And just for context, we're the dry side of the state. We don't rain like Seattle, but we do get cold. As I was telling them earlier, it was -2 when I got up this morning, and we're now at a balmy 11. So it's awesome. Um, I've written 18 paranormal books for Bold Strokes, and number 19 comes out in 2024. So, safe to say, I like everything that goes bump in the night.
Wow. And so, Crin, I just heard you say that you have theater. Did you mention theater?
Yeah, that's my main job. I'm a production manager for theatre and a lighting designer.
Wow. And Sheri, do you have some theater too?
I do. I'm both an actor and a playwright. I've had a number of short plays produced, which is super fun. I think I almost like that better than even acting because it's really exciting to see actors take your words and do what they do with them.
That's amazing. And I have an improv school, and so I create stories on stage with other people. That's crazy. We are all 3 theater people writing paranormal. What are the chances? Ah, and all 3 found our way to Bold Strokes.
And I
Wow.
will say, my very first short play that I was shocked, I sent it to a festival and I thought there's no way this will get selected. And it did, but it was a vampire play.
Right.
Wow. Wow. So I'm going to ask a question of you, Sheri. What is it about vampires?
Oh, I people have asked me that a lot through the years, and I've had to stop and think about it. And I think part of it is, and I was on a panel this summer where I totally blamed my brothers. I'm the only girl with 3 brothers, and they terrorized me when I was a kid, and I was really scared of the dark. And again, I blame that on my brothers for hiding behind doors and under my bed where they'd grab my leg, and they were monsters, I tell you, monsters. So anyway, the thing about vampires to me was they're so powerful and nothing scares them. They are the masters of the night. And I think honestly, that's what drew me to vampires. Not the traditional vampires like Bram Stoker's Dracula, because he was kind of creepy and ugly and nasty. No, I like the romanticized vampires, especially if they're women and they're strong and powerful and nothing can stop them.
Nice, nice. And Crin, are you a vampire?
I am a vampire. No, I'm not a vampire. Have you seen me outdoors? No. Neither
no.
you have
Was
seen.
that you in my room last night?
Could have been me or someone who looked like me. Yeah, I hear you, Sheri, on that. The powerful, um, not able, non-frightened kind of power of vampires. I got into vampires through The Hunger and Anne Rice and people like that. And Joel Gomez, actually. I love Joel Gomez's vampires because they don't kill. They just take blood, but not, they don't drain the body of blood. And I've followed that convention with my vampire novel, Scarlet Thirst, because I mean, it's funny how you come to create your own conventions. For me, the idea that vampires in this modern society would get away with being able to kill people all the time didn't ring true. I thought that they would be found out. So when I wrote Scarlet Thirst, I decided that they would drink about a pint or so from somebody and leave them unbeknownst, just feeling a little bit weak and move on. But so they're not bloodthirsty killers. But that doesn't mean that they were all good characters either in Scarlet Thirst. There's some quite devious characters. So the vampire community is there are good people and bad people, same as
Yeah.
there are. Yeah.
Like, like all that's it. That's so interesting that you should say that because I was going, okay, so I have witches in my book. And it was the same feeling like a lot of this book was written during the pandemic when, I mean, my theater school shut down, like everything just, I felt completely powerless. And so writing about having these witches, that people who have some agency in the world that isn't, through politics and isn't through, it was really inspiring to me. And mine are like, I had to come, and this will be interesting to hear how you got, like hearing you, Crin, talk about what kind of vampire. Like I sort of made up the kind of witches that I have that because they are women who can control sound waves and move the world. Like I created a world that was sound is what's holding us all together and that they can do. And I just made that up. I don't know where well, I do know where it came from, but it was the sense of having power. Yeah, like having some power in this world. Yeah, yeah. So it's fascinating, really, like the world of paranormal and what you have to make up. So what world, like that was a world I made up, like where because I saw what happened was I saw a video, a YouTube of water coming out of a faucet and these musicians playing sounds at it, and it was moving the water. And I
Mm.
thought, wow, I didn't know that could happen. And then I got on a website, a NASA website, and I heard how each planet has its own sound. And I was tripping out at that. And I started going, what what are all the sounds we can't hear and what's happening? Maybe there's more to sound than we really realize. But that's where I went with that, and that's how I made it up. But how do you go about making up these worlds that you're in when you're doing so, writing these? Because Sheri, you write more than just vampires, right? Don't you have witches? You have little everything, don't you?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, in fact, Witchfinder came out in 2023. And for me, it's yeah, I all things paranormal interest me. And I tend to, like you, I'll see something and the what if starts rolling in my mind. What if this happened? What if, and I like witches too because of their connection to the world. And I appreciate what this what witches in real life do. I mean, it's not paranormal, it's not all this. There's a real connection to the earth and health and honoring. And so with Witchfinder, and there were, back in history, there were witchfinders who went out to destroy them.
Mhm.
But as we all know, that had less to do with paranormal and more to do with a lot of other issues.
Right.
But um, in Witchfinder, it's more about women protecting more than just the earth, but protecting us all, and what happens if that becomes threatened.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do. It's whatever happens to interest me at the time. I love werewolves, so I tell the story about riding through my bike through Riverside State Park here and looking down one of the hills and thinking, man, that'd be a good place to drop a body. And then I thought, well, what would drop a body there? And the first thing I thought of was werewolf.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Yeah.
The book got written.
Yeah. I
What is
find that, go ahead, Crin.
I was just going to ask Sheri what because I haven't written any werewolf genre books, but I think it's a fascinating genre which come again, like vampires, comes with a whole trope of conventions that you can either choose to stick with, or the whole silver bullet thing, or you can mess with those conventions. So, what do you do with your werewolf
It's
novels?
a little of both for me. I do like some of the folk tales that go along with them, but I take a lot of creative license because honestly, they're folk tales, and so it's not this is the way it is because it's a werewolf. So I sort of create my own worlds, and they're all contemporary. So it's like, how do I make this fit in the contemporary world? And like you were talking earlier about, would that really happen? Would they notice if a vampire was dropping bodies all over the place? And of course, my answer is maybe. I mean, I worked for 33 years for the federal judiciary. So I have a pretty good feel for what criminals can get away with. I'm also a retired human remains detection canine handler. So I also work with law enforcement. And my cop buddies just say, yeah, sure, go for it. Go for it. So, because I
Right.
tell them where I'm going with some of the stuff, and they're like, yeah, just do it.
Could you repeat human remains what?
Human remains detection canine handler. Basically, what people usually refer to it as I ran a cadaver dog.
Okay. Okay. Oh,
So,
interesting.
yeah.
Wow.
Interesting.
That's why you see a lot of dogs back here, and that's why dogs are in most of my books. Yeah.
Yeah. I always have animals in my books too. They can add some tenderness or lightness or anything you want. Yeah, you got to have those. Yeah, yeah. I always seem to have animals in my books too. Yeah, yeah. All right.
So,
Yeah.
Clifford, I was going to ask you because you're not drawn to write paranormal work. No, the rest of your novels aren't. So, what was it that was you wanted to venture into the extraordinary rather than the ordinary with this book?
Well, the very first novel I wrote, which was actually the second one that Bold Strokes Books published, was also paranormal in a way because it's called Spanking New, and it was told of a spirit that wasn't born yet, looking into the world that it was going to be born into. So my mind kind of works that way anyway. But then this one, I guess what drew me into it was basically the setting of my novel. Oh, I guess I should show it. Okay, can you see it? I'm blurred. It's hard when you're blurred. Ah, shit. Oh, excuse my language, everybody. Sorry. Sorry. Here, I'll unblur for a minute, but I don't want you to have to see my big. Well, I'm not going to spend time with this. All right. Bait and Witch is the name of the book. You can kind of see it there. I'm going to roll it
Yeah.
down. Yes. Okay. So it's a house cleaner who comes upon because it's a mystery as well. It's a house cleaner that comes upon a dead body. And I started thinking, because I was a house cleaner back, I'm in theater. So, of course, I've had every job in the world to support my theater habit. And many years ago, I was a house cleaner. And I was struck with that was the first thought I had is how you get to know people through their houses when you're a house cleaner. You may never meet them, but you know a whole lot about them. And so I started thinking about what if this house cleaner finds this woman who's she's a, she's dead, but and then she winds up inheriting the trailer. And as she gets to, which that's a whole nother plot thing, but as she gets to know more about her, she finds out that, and this is something that's so interesting to me, like you pass an old woman on the street and you think, oh, there's an old woman. But what if she's way more, what is an old woman? What does it make? I mean, becoming one myself now, I'm 65. It's like, don't write me off just because I'm getting gray hair. I've had a life. So this life of her that just began to expand and expand, and the whole idea of her having this incredible power was just so exciting to me. And the only way to do that for me in this world where women have so little power is to give her power outside of the political realm, outside of, all these ways where women are suppressed. Here is a place. And so it got me studying actually a lot about Dianic Wicca, which, because that was where this particular witch started. So I did a bunch of research about that. Also finding out now that they're not trans friendly, the original Dianic witches. So then opening up that whole world, of how those Wicca have shifted. So I mean, it just took me down a ride that was super exciting. I love research, so I researched the heck out of all these different kinds of witches. Yeah, and then made up my own. And I don't know. That didn't really answer that question, Crin. Sorry. I don't know.
I think I think it's brilliant actually what you just said, and Sheri as well. Um, that you enjoy the creation part of paranormal work. It's one of the main reasons why I like to write paranormal and what I call extraordinary, the
Mhm.
magical within the ordinary.
Yeah.
So I tend to set my novels in an ordinary setting, so a conventional modern day world rather than a magical mythical place. But the extraordinary stuff is what is the powers that people have within it. So the supernatural detective series is all focused on the central character who's a medium.
Mhm.
So she can see ghosts and communicate with ghosts. And there are three in that series now. In the first book, Tony Carson discovers that she can communicate with ghosts. So there's a lot of play in the first book about how Tony and her friends around her react to this huge change in Tony's life and whether Tony is hallucinating or not. And, sort of that kind of play between and the love interest in the first book as well, and how she reacts to supposedly seeing Tony talking to herself in one scene when actually it's just because she can't see the ghost. So there's that kind of play. Like, how would that? I've got a quite a logical mind, so I sort of think, well, how would that really work if it really happened? But what I really love is the ability to just the magic of it all. It's like being a child, really, and listening to fairy stories, but writing them. It could happen. This could all happen. That's what I love about it.
Wow. So you just had a realization because my other one of my other books, Rest Home Runaways, had a ghost in it. I've been writing paranormal all this time and I didn't know it because
I
it
love
has
Rest
a
Home
ghost in it
Runaway.
too. The ghost is one of the main characters that drives the action. Who knew? There's a question up here. So how long did it take you to do the research then on Bait and Witch and write the whole book? Oh, well, wow, that's a good question. This one took me a long time because the pandemic just kind of, some people wrote like crazy during the pandemic. I was just so floored for a while. I couldn't even get words out. I could barely speak a word. But as I said, my business shut down. So I was just like, wow. But I would say 2 years. And the research, I'm not somebody who researches, and this would be interesting to ask you guys too. Do you research at the beginning and then right through? I am a write till I realize there's something I don't know, then I research, then I write some more, go back and write, forward, back, and I'm constantly researching throughout. So I'd say the whole thing was about 2 years. And that's usually true for me, about 2 years, but yeah, so about that. So I hope that answers your question, Cheryl Ray. How about you guys though? Do you research, like what kind of research do you do or how, when and how? Sheri?
I'm like you. I mean, I do when the idea hits me, then I do some preliminary research to kind of refine what my idea is. But then, like you were saying, then I just start to write until I get to a spot that's like, oh, wait a minute. How would this work? Or what would this happen? Or really, am I going too far out of what could actually happen? And so then I will stop like you and research and try not to go down rabbit holes because it's really, really easy to do that. Because as you're researching, you're like, ooh, look at that. Oh, that's interesting. So I try not to do that. And then I continue on. It takes me usually about a year to get through all of that and get the book written.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How about you, Crin?
I'm a slower writer. Also, I'm a production manager for theatre, which is really intense sometimes, and I'm a parent. It's a
Oh, and
miracle.
I just have to say, as a production person in theater, thank you from all the theater people everywhere. Thank you, thank you,
Welcome.
thank you, thank you. Okay, cool.
You're welcome. Um, so it's it's kind of extraordinary that I get time to write at all, but I love writing and I just need to keep writing. It's what just feeds me. And it's anyway, yeah. Um, so I sort of my books don't come out that rapidly, but I tend with the supernatural detective series. I don't need to research the ghost stuff, but what I need to research is the environment of the whichever book it is. And with the latest book, which is the one that's out now, which is The Haunting of I'm trying to do it. There you go, Haunting of Oak Springs. I set it in Derbyshire, in northern England, on a farm. The farm is dilapidated it's a rundown ex-women's land farm in Derbyshire. But my sister happens to have a farm in Derbyshire, so it meant that I could easily research the environment and also get some tips on farming from my sister. And the Tony Carson is a lighting designer for theatre. So, I'm sort of slipping in now things that I don't have to do a huge amount of research in to create. And I find that that's really feeds me because I can, people read, some people that read the Supernatural Detective series do so because they love theatre and they like the world of theatre that's written into it as well.
Yeah,
Um, so, you're writing many things, aren't you, when you write a book?
yeah.
Not just the genre, not just the character, but their world as well.
I feel like a lot of the time, like I have like a question or something that's just sitting in me that needs to be dealt with a book. And then, yeah, there are the parameters of having to have an arc of a story and all of that. But within it is this truth of something I'm dealing with, like, and a lot, and like you said, I put lots of things in. Like where I live now, we have a lot of homelessness. It's just a part of living in Northern California right now and tent cities and so I
Mm.
have some of that in the book because it's something that's really disturbing to me. And so it's some way that I don't know that I'm making any sense of it, but addressing it in some way, I guess, like, yeah, I think that that's part of writing for me. Like, because I think a lot like, why am I writing? And I do enjoy it, but it's also like just dealing with stuff. I don't know. Like, why do you guys write? Why do you write? Why? It's a ridiculous thing to do. I mean, it's wonderful, but it's ridiculous too. It's like putting little words on paper that bring people's minds to this place. I don't know. Why do you write? Why do you write, Sheri? Why do you write?
I think, like you said, Clifford, it's you almost have to, and it's been that way for as long as I can remember. And yes, I'm writing paranormal, and like Crin, you said, it's the extraordinary within the ordinary, which super appeals to me. But at the same time, it's not just about a vampire. It's not just about a werewolf or a psychic. There's people in here, and they might have issues that maybe I went through, or maybe, like you say, with the homelessness, is something that's on my mind that I'm seeing, and I have to work my way through it. And so I do that through writing.
Yeah.
And for me, it just happens that the paranormal is part of it, because I've tried to not write paranormal and it never really works for me. Something creeps in anyway. So I just finally gave up and said I'm a paranormal writer. There you go.
Well, hooray that you are, because loads of people love to read paranormal.
Yeah.
It's that escape from the everyday.
You
Yeah,
know, I was going to say, I tell people that all the time, that I worked in a very traditional, very conservative environment my entire career. And so then to be here in my home office and be able to create these stories that are fantastical took
Mhm.
me completely away from that consumed my, life 40 hours a week for 3 decades. So it was a delightful way to use my mind.
Yeah. I'm
Mm.
seeing in the chat that somebody is addressing you, Crin, saying that they love your drag queen ghost who's able to change
Oh,
clothes, and they want to know, is it super fun? This is Cheryl Ray at wanting to know, is it super fun to give him a life in the story?
oh, hey Cheryl, that's. A lot of people like Deirdre. I don't. Deirdre gets all the best lines. Deirdre, everybody who doesn't know, well, everyone else probably, apart from you and me, Cheryl. But anyway, Deirdre is Tony's spirit guide.
Mhm.
Deirdre's from New York and died in the 80s. And Deirdre's a drag queen. And Deirdre's name, even though Deirdre's a New Yorker, her name comes from Deirdre Barlow because Deirdre got into the soap opera Coronation Street. Now, if you're British and you know who Deirdre Barlow is, she's like one of those very mundane, um, British soap opera characters, not glamorous. We're not talking Dynasty or Dallas or anything. We're talking real kitchen sink drama character. So it's quite that. I mean, that's funny in itself that she's called Deirdre, but she's impossibly rude to Tony at any opportunity, and snippy and disparaging, and yet incredibly warm-hearted and helpful when she can be bothered, when she's not off doing something mysterious in the other world that she never bothers to explain to Tony. So able to change clothes. Yes, I do mention Tony Deirdre's clothes do feature quite a lot throughout the series. It is super fun. Super fun. Deirdre's one of the fun characters. Jade and Tony and Deirdre, I think, come through the series. Jade is Tony's best friend. She's a musical theatre actor, Trinidadian, and they're really tight. There was a attraction that when they first met that's referred to that sort of pops up through the three books. But they're really tight, really good friends. And I think that's something that I like reading about, in other people's books. And I like to write that lesbian, queer, gay network of friendships, that tried and tested, and the way that queers flirt with each other, friends flirt, expressing ourselves and acknowledging each other's sexuality in that way that friends do. I like to write that into books.
I think too, as as queer people, we create family in a different way. And often it's through our, our very close friend, we have chosen families. And I think it's important that we represent that always. I think of just, we've had to create a whole, I mean, now I'm allowed to be married to my wife, yay. But for years, I mean, we've been together 32 years, and for a long time. Yeah, I know, right? Come on, 32 years. But
Yeah.
but for so long, you'd say this is my partner, and people be like business partner, blah, blah, blah. But I think it's great that in the work that we do, that we can show these lives. I'm reading from Chris Christian. I love it when authors change up and reimagine the traditional tropes. What is a time that stands out to you when the rules were changed and you loved it? Oh, let's see. What was a time rules were changed? Loved it. Well, writing, I mean, like, I guess I can respond to that by just saying, as I said, when I started thinking about sound, it made me go through the world very differently. And it made me think about what sounds I'm not hearing that other creatures are hearing,
Mm.
what I'm not hearing under the water, what the kind of this web that's happened. Like I started walking through the world feeling like I was walking through a web of sound. And that was really like amazing for me to just enter in to see the world or and I know there's a lot I can't hear, but just wondering what yeah, it just kind of opened up my mind to the whole reality of this magical planet, really, of just I think maybe as paranormal writers, that's something we long for is the magic of this world is amazing and everybody wants to, oh, this is how it works. But we don't know how it works. There's so much unknown. So how fun to be able to make that up. I don't know if that answers that question. You guys want to take a stab at it? The tropes.
Well, I think I was referring a little bit back to vampire tropes, and we had a bit of conversation about whether what I find when if I'm approaching like my ghost series or vampire, Scarlet Thirst with the vampire novel, I did look at all. I had to think about all the conventions and whether I was going to stick with them or twist them. But Cheryl was saying earlier that that you loved writing vampires because they're strong and they're not frightened of anything. But I found that I needed to have something. They had to have some vulnerability, something that could damage them. Otherwise, there's no tension, there's no drama, there's no danger. And for me, because there's always an element of crime or mystery in my books as well, they're not just sort of everyday stories of, tales of the vampire city or whatever. So, they've got to be that there's some crime going on or a mystery to solve as well. So therefore, there has to be danger.
Yeah.
So I kept sunlight as being something that could damage them, but I then because they don't go out in the sun, I looked at the moon and kept the moon as something that was warm. When the moon was full, then that was for them like going out into a warmer environment than if the moon was new.
Mm.
So that I haven't particularly seen in other vampire work. But I just imagined a world where people never went out in daytime. So if you've got if your light's at its fullest, then the sort of having that concept, then it was a sunny day to them.
Oh, that's cool. I love that. Ha.
Now,
Mhm.
how about you two? Did you play with any tropes or?
I always do. Just because, yeah, I know the tropes, but all of this is based in folklore, and the folklore, if you get into it, varies from culture to culture. So there's a vampire in every culture, but the way they work, what threatens them, what powers they have, is always different based on that culture. And so to me, that opens it up to be able to play with it however I want. And like you said, Crin, there's got to be something that threatens them. Because, like you, I always have mystery and thriller elements to it too. And so they can't, why they might be powerful, why they might be the rulers of the night in a case of a vampire, there still has to be something that can take them down. And so it's just finding what that is and how it's going to work in the world that I'm twisting. And I do like to take the current day because mine are all basically contemporary, even though I've done a little bit of time travel. But um, I like to twist things just a little bit and kind of make it my own.
Yeah. I my witches are I wrote one that was very witchy. You know, I used everything. I think I had a black cat. I had the dark the lacy black clothing, you know, the whole thing. But the rest of them are just everyday. And she's just doing it and they think she's kind of, you know, over the top. But mine one is a very wealthy woman, you know, who, you know, which I mean, actually, where I live in Santa Cruz, there are a lot of Wicca. I mean, you can be talking, like I tell people, oh, yeah, I just wrote a book named Bait and Witch. And the bank teller goes, oh, I'm Wicca. You know, I mean, this is the town I live in. But yeah, so I did a lot. I just think it's witches is, you know, to be a witch is such a huge possibility when you start looking at, and one of my witches goes, oh, spells, they're just prayers with props, you know, like, so it just depends on what kind of witch. But yeah, so the tropes are interesting though, but it was fun to write the one very witchy, very cliched witch. That was super fun to just go there. Why not? You know, why not? Yeah.
And I don't think that's out of the realm of reality either, because I've done that too, where you have a character that consciously plays into it
Yes,
and they
right.
know they're doing it, but they think they're cool.
Yeah, they like it, right? Yeah, why not? Why not? Yeah. Yeah, it's a
It's
fun
like
thing.
living the stereotype, isn't it? I am Wiccan, actually, by the way.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
nice. Yay. See, they're everywhere,
Yeah,
everywhere.
we
I
are
know.
everywhere. Lesbians and witches, we're
Yeah.
everywhere. Do
And
you know?
I'm not, you know, people say, well, are you Wicca? And I go, I don't know. I light a candle if I'm thinking about somebody. I put white light around people. So does that make, I don't know what that makes me. Do you know, I'm never big on labeling myself exactly, but I certainly believe in something way beyond what the everyday pay your bills, blah, 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 blah. You know, it's like if that were all that there were to life. Yeah, maybe that's why we're paranormal writers, because we long for something more than that. Yeah. And
Yeah,
create, really, and give it to other people too, where, you know, they get to read it.
I'll go
Yeah.
back to what Crin said, the extraordinary within the ordinary. That's what
Yeah.
we're looking for. I
Yeah.
thought that was a beautiful phrase.
oh,
Yeah.
thank you. I've just noticed that we've got a question in the Q&A box as well.
Let's
Which,
see.
have you seen that? Which it says, will we see an
Oh,
increase in WLW paranormal romance audiobooks?
I hope so. Yeah, that's what I say. And here we are casting a spell right now.
All right. Good.
Yes.
Three.
Come
Para
on.
three. Para three for
Casting
the
the
Lord.
spell. We hope so.
My audio booth is ready. Just saying.
Yeah. I had the pleasure of recording one audiobook for my very first novel. Dog Ear Audio was then doing lesbian, and I got to go up into the mountains of Guffey in Colorado, and the whole thing was recorded solar, and it was so much fun. I just would love, oh my gosh. Anyway, so yeah, let's do that. But it's a huge amount of work. Hmm. Hmm. Oh, wait, what's this? If you buy them, we will publish them. Oh, that's it. All right, there's
Yay,
Sandy's in there.
Sandy.
Yay,
Yay.
Sandy. This is a moment to just love on Sandy right now. She's the greatest.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
some quick questions. So what do you snack on when you're writing? That was a question that we talked about one time, Crin. Who snacks? Who's a snacker?
I need to have a cup of tea about every 5 minutes. What about you two?
So I was going to say the same thing. I'm not really a snacker, but I'm a drinker. I
Yeah.
want, and since I live in the Pacific Northwest, my drink of choice is, of course, espresso.
Oh, oh gosh. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm more of a drinker too. But occasionally I have to get up and stretch my legs a lot when I write. It's just sitting at a computer is tricky. So then sometimes I admit I walk over to the chocolate that's on top of the fridge. I'll have a chocolate almond. Yum, yum, yum. But yeah, definitely tea is me too. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tea drinker. Oh, and I thought somebody was talking about craft beers. Oh, because of
Well,
you up in the Pacific Northwest, right?
Yeah,
Right.
craft beers are always good.
Yes. How important to think, how important is it to show paranormal characters who have respect for life in general and humans in particular? Oh, what do you think about that? This is from an anonymous attendee to show
I think that's
paranormal.
oh,
important from characterization, period, whether
yeah.
it's paranormal or not.
Yeah, yeah,
I can see why the question might have come if you're writing werewolves and vampires and characters and even witches, as represented in general literature. Traditionally, witches don't get a good press.
yeah.
Traditionally, like far traditionally, up
Mhm,
up up until people up until Charmed and even
mhm.
Bewitched, actually, the sitcom Bewitched.
Oh, yeah.
I love that as a child.
I
Yeah,
know. I
but
know.
to show paranormal respect for life, yeah, absolutely. That's why my vampires didn't kill.
Yeah. And I think just respect for life, just in general, like is a good thing to be putting out into the world right now. I feel strongly about that. Yeah, I
Yes.
feel
Yeah.
like I want to make sure that we have time too to plug our latest books. Yeah. Where are we at of time? Am I
Yeah.
right that we end in 5 minutes, Sandy? Is that right? Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, well, maybe we should take a little time to talk about what our most recent books are. Does that seem like a good thing to do, gals?
It
Okay.
does.
I'm loving this personally. I'm gonna check into your books. That's this
Yeah,
is
that's what
great.
I was thinking as well.
Yeah, yeah. I've got
I
Yes.
some
do
good reading
anyway,
there.
but yeah,
Yeah, sweet. So who wants to go first? Who would like to go?
you go, Clifford, because
Oh
you've
God.
been
Okay.
helping
Well,
us.
here we go. I'm going to try and unblur so I can show it to you because it's weird. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Now you're going to see my messy little room. There it is. Bait and Witch, which there it is. Now I'm going to, well, you can see I'm going to unblur. I can't stand it because now I want to clean. Okay. There we go. But this book was out November of this last year. And it's about a house cleaner who comes across, and she has a daughter. Probably, there is a romance. I have romances in all of my novels, although none of them are technically romance, but I always have a little spicy romance in there just because why not give people love, you know? It's, why not? But she's a single mom who is facing some real big challenges. And and this is a little private thing for readers to know that is not in the book. Olive, who is the daughter, who's 9 years old, and I think she's a little lesbian, but I never say that because a parent would never say that about their child. But yeah, so she's a little lesbian and she's a lively little kick-ass little girl. And it felt really good to write a little kick-ass little girl. So that was one of the things I enjoyed the most. So that's it, Bait and Witch. And it's a little mystery, paranormal mystery. Woohoo! Okay, who's up?
You want me to go?
Yeah,
Yes.
go, Cheryl.
Okay. So I was busy last year, even as I was wrapping up my career as a Fed, but I had Witchfinder, which I told you about earlier, which is a witch who's a keeper, keeps a grimoire safe that could destroy the world. And her buddy Morgan is a witch finder who tries to keep her safe so that the world isn't descending into darkness. So, and then what came out in November was Buried Secrets, which is a little more of a paranormal thriller. And there is a search dog, of course. And we have a U.S. probation officer who was shot in the line of duty. So she takes a little time off, her and her search dog, and go spend some time with her mom. And then we have a former cop who is now a PI who's been searching for her brother for 20 years. And she just happens to be one who would have visions now and again. And so the two of them together sort of uncover some buried secrets that could actually kill them. But like you, Clifford, all of mine have all this stuff going on, but there's always a thread of romance because, we got to have love. We just got to have love.
Oh, softy. So my new book is, oh, that's my name. Sorry. That's my new book is The Haunting of Oak Springs. I'm just going to hit reply on this as well. There you go. So it's in the chat. It's a supernatural detective mystery. It's the third book in the series, and it's the most hardcore mystery to date. Toni Carson, when she starts off, she's not a private eye. She's got no professional detective capacity at all. So she's sort of a hapless detective that's sort of dragged into helping solve problems through the ghosts that are sort of asking for her help. But I felt in writing, by the time of writing this new one, I really wanted to immerse myself more into a serious mystery. So that's what you get with this latest one. It's set in Derbyshire, and Jade's in it, Tony's in it, and there's some quite serious stuff going on that I can't really tell you about because it's sort of spoilers. But it just to say it does have humor in it. It is silly at times, and there's lots of just if you've read the other books in the series, then you know that it's quite light in many ways, but this one is the most serious of the three, and I think it's quite a page turner. That's what the reviews are saying. That's what I wanted it to be. So
Nice, nice. Oh man, well, I got my reading list lined up, that's for sure. This is great. So we have 1 minute left. Should we ask one quick question? What do we have? Oh, what do you wear when you write?
whatever I
Yoga
have,
pants and sweatshirts. Are there anything else to wear?
full suit and tie and waistcoat, of course. No, whatever I have on at the time. I write in the morning. Actually, here's a question for you. When do you write best? Morning, afternoon, evening?
Usually morning for me, usually, yeah, but I'm kind of all over the place. It can change for me. My schedule is so crazy, so I just do it when I can. How about you, Sheri?
Yeah, same with me. I just write whenever I can. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I will write at any time, but I write better in the morning. I think I'm closer to dreaming, that kind of dream brain state.
Right.
So
Yeah, my thoughts are a little, yeah, my thoughts are a little clearer in the morning for
a little
sure.
sharper. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But the best ideas always come in the shower.
my best ideas come when I'm driving and I can't write them down or do anything about them, and I'm sort of panicked that I won't remember. It's not the actual idea. I'll remember the idea, but if I've got a good phrase, if I'm sort of writing a bit in my head, then it's like I'm going to lose those words
Yeah.
that sound so good to me in my head when I'm driving.
That's me. It's when I'm running and I'm like 2 miles into a 5 mile run and I have this brilliant thought. And by the time I finish those other 3 miles, it's gone.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
well, this has been fabulous, gals. This has been so nice.
really nice.
Yeah.